Hello and welcome to Forgotten Temples, and this is Kandork Yeak. Now, I do an awful lot of travelling, as you know, and no matter how far I travel, I always end up here. And here is, as I say, Kandork Yeak, and it is in the Angkor Wat complex. But this is one of those ones the tourists, well, they leave behind because it's not one of the grand ones. And you know what our bumper bag of temples is full of? Those forgotten ones. Although he's in the centre of things, he doesn't get that many visitors. And there's an absolutely wonderful bit of nature I wish to show you at the end. So I'll be taking you there. Now, there's not an awful lot to tell you about this temple because, well, there's absolutely no information on it. There's nothing on the internet, and as is the way, its history is lost to time. But it does have its own personality, and as I say, what beautiful surroundings. So you and I, me and you, us together, how about it? Let's go for a look round. Do you remember me opening with saying I was doing some clambering over here? And by the way, may I highly recommend clambering. It's not climbing, and it's certainly not walking. It's sort of a cross between the two. Children do an awful lot of clambering, and they look very happy doing it. Adults, I don't know, they just don't clamber. So it's, you know, it's something to put on your to-do list. More clambering equals more smiles. And what I was clambering over was this here. It was a wall that has now gone over, and that is due to soil erosion here shifting its base. Because what we can see here would have been a floor, or maybe this was actually yet more of a wall that is literally just folded down with time. I've seen that before. And here is the temple itself. Now, he's an absolute porker. I mean, old fat boy here. These walls are really far apart. He's very, very broad. And what makes a broad temple like this quite the challenge is, of course, you need a much broader base to build him on. So when you design something like this, every inch you go right and left is a whole load of extra work. Now, if you look at this here, you'll say, oh my Lord, Mr. P, look at that lovely buttressing, that triangle there. And although covered in lichen, this is modern, this is concrete. And I think people may well disagree with it, but as a temporary fix, I think it does rather well. I think it looks rather good because it does marry with the same colour, and the lichen, you know, is on here as well. So it blends its way in rather well. And here he is. This is a very large room that I would have been standing in. And although it's been stripped of its detailing, its prettiness, you've got to say he's rather imposing. And that was the message with this one, maybe. You know, make it that much broader and bigger. And maybe there would have been people in here chanting so you could make more of a noise and attract your customers. Because let's not forget that these temples, they run on money. You've got to have a USP, you know, a unique selling point. So maybe that was it with this one here. And let us get into its very heart. And he's an absolute charmer. And he is set in a beautiful surrounding. And I'm going to show you that in just a moment. But let's get into the heart. And we see something I've seen before, but I've never mentioned it on film. Now, this is a tiny bit of statue. I'm just going to move it out the way. It looks like a leg or a knee. We're just putting that there. Because look at this. Can you see these squares? 4 and 4 and 4 and 4. This is an exceptionally hard stone. And I'm just going to move this stone. I'll put them back, I promise. Oopsie. And this here. Because obviously what went in here was something rather tall and large. A statue would have gone in here. But the work to do this and then marry it up in stone with protruding bits to lock in is an incredible amount of engineering. And this, you see, just amplifies something we see time and time again, which is man-hours was never the problem. It was always get it done properly. And this is fascinating to me. Now we pop the bits back, as we said we would, because you never know. You know, it's not my religion. I honestly, when I first started doing this and there was bottles and stuff in here, I honestly thought it was rubbish and I was a fool. But I'm a fool that's learning because, of course, they are blessings. Of course they are. And here, I'm going to turn left and show you the absolute beauty that surrounds this temple. Look at this. This appeared briefly at the start of another video I did. But have a look. Things like this always amaze me. And I'm actually going to take you down there because it was a quick trip round the temple. So you and I are going to have, let's call it a romantic moment, shall we? Well, this is rather steep. Now, what I do know about this body of water here, and you can see over there, look. Those are all reeds and lotus flowers. It's absolutely full of frogs, but I may well have scared them off previously. But this is, oh, there's one. This is the wonder of temple hunting. Yes, the temples are the focal point. They're always the target, as I call them. But my goodness, the countryside, that is what makes the memory. So there you go, another temple lands oh so gently in our velvet bag of forgotten temples. Although this one, I've got to admit, is on the track. But he does get ignored on the whole. It's the bigger, mightier ones that always get the attention. But this one, although he has no real detailing to him and not one singular thing I can point to, I really like this one. We saw some fantastic engineering just through that door with the little squares. And the scenery around here is fantastic. The birds have been tweeting and we have a river that belongs in an Arthurian legend. As always, I ask you to like, subscribe and comment, and if by chance you could drop just a few coins into my Patreon account to get me a few further kilometres, then that would be wonderful. 17,000 kilometres so far logging these temples. The address for that is www.patreon.com/temples. It only remains for me to say, until next time, I wish you absolutely nothing but the very best. You take good care.